Center here at 502 North Ridgewood Road in South Orange, New Jersey. We will begin by reciting the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there together with their near ones who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this. Seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness, form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, and form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure, nor they neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor the wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no pain, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the Bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Tadyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that Samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, "Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught." And the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering of the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of praise the words of the Blessed One. Now generate bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay. So let's do a rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum, imagining that we are assuming the suffering of others and thereby extinguishing the flame of self-cherishing and providing others with all our virtues. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So, we are discussing ethics for the new millennium, and His Holiness has been presenting the whole idea that underneath our maybe selfish tendencies, there is an innate, deep quality of love and compassion that we have towards each other that enables the world to function, that enables babies to survive, that enables a mother to care for her child and thereby enable it to survive. And he's been really taking us through the steps to understand that though we have selfish tendencies, there is this quality of love, of compassion, of concern for others, empathy that exists, and that should not be forgotten, should not be I mean, I find even I have a tendency to think that deep down, what really motivates us is selfishness. And he's saying, no, that's not the case. Deep down, what really motivates us, and something that we have to really discover, is this natural concern we have for each other. I don't know how you feel about this. This is three.
I think it varies by the individual degree. Every motivation is a mixture of selfishness and compassion for the most part, but it might be 1% selfishness and 99% compassion, or various mixtures. But I think it varies.
Some of the selfishness due to survival. I think if you look at Darwin, we have to be selfish to a certain extent to be able to survive, to work, to make a living, to feed ourselves. Those are also, they can be both selfish tendencies. It depends on where you cut them off, so they don't become excessive money, excessive worry about your career or your stock market or whatever. So yeah, I think, and then to be able to embrace others, and then to get rid of the selfishness afterwards, after the initial instinct of survival. That's the key.
So in terms of the instinct of survival, what he has introduced is the whole notion that one instinct of survival is actually concern for others, that is a tool of survival.
Initially, but what about later on in life?
I mean, when we get a little more selfish?
Yes, exactly.
I've heard someone recently say survival of the kindest. It's not survival of the fittest.
Yeah, but it makes sense. But when you do things that'll have good results, you cause and effect, puts you in the right section.
So I think that, what Grace, what you are saying, the fact that it is a combination of things, what it sort of shows us is that we are not inherently one or the other. This mixture, this combination, this is something that we can actually work on, that we can change from having the instinct of being selfish to recognizing the gains that we derive from caring others. Gains in the sense of maybe happiness, maybe pleasure, maybe enjoying the joy that we bring to others. Anyway.
Can I ask, what does deep down mean?
Means
how could we distinguish what is deeper in our mind?
That's a good question. It's a big deal.
I don't know. It's you have the brain and you have the outside of the brain, and what's inside is deeper. It's all a question of how deep it is within the brain.
Innermost neuron.
Mm-hmm.
Subtlest thing that has nothing to do with that.
So, I don't know. So,
Tony might have something to say.
No, I have nothing to say. No, the deeper you go, but you have to have a tranquil mind. And then there's as all the texts say, there's different levels,
As the water.
There's a Vavanga, whatever, it's more subtle minds. They say. I'm not one who's visited that area.
So in terms of the mind that has to be cultivated to realize our lack of self, the profundity of that mind is really judged by the subtlety of the mind. And so one of the things that one works at doing is using as subtle a quality of consciousness as possible. Those are the techniques that one relies upon as one progresses along the path.
And the subtlety is found through calm abiding meditation.
No, calm abiding meditation is the technique for keeping the mind focused on the object.
So what is the means of finding a subtler mind?
I don't know.
Okay.
So, I have marked that we reached page 71. The top. So we start with,
Almost 70.
but the experience of this negative potential does not give us grounds to suppose that human nature is inherently violent or even necessarily disposed towards violence. Perhaps one of the reasons for the popularity of the belief that human nature is aggressive lies in our continual exposure to bad news through the media. Yet the very cause of this is surely that good news is not news. That's where we left off. Yeah. To say that basic human nature is not only non-violent, but actually disposed towards love and compassion, kindness, gentleness, affection, creation, and so on, does of course imply a general principle which must by definition be applicable to each individual human being. What then are we to say about those individuals whose lives seem to be given over wholly to violence and aggression? So this is, how do we understand the Maos and the Pol Pots and the Hitlers of this world? During the past century alone, there are several obvious examples to consider. What of Hitler and his plan to exterminate the entire Jewish race? What of Stalin and his pogroms? What of Chairman Mao, the man I once knew and admired, and the barbarous insanity of the Cultural Revolution? What of Pol Pot, architect of the killing fields? And what about those who torture and kill for pleasure? Here I must admit that I can think of no single explanation to account for the monstrous acts of these people. However, we must recognize two things. Firstly, such people do not come from nowhere, but from within a particular society at a particular time and in a particular place. Their actions need to be considered in relation to those circumstances. Secondly, we need to recognize the role of the imaginative faculty in their actions. Now, what do you make of this imaginative faculty? And also the fact that their actions need to be considered in relation to these circumstances. I think it's very, though His Holiness is trying to put this evil in perspective and relate it to the circumstances, I think it's very difficult to do. I think that when we are working towards recognizing virtuous tendencies rather than selfish tendencies, it's particularly important to focus on ourselves. And if we start to try to understand others and try to sort of base our ethical judgment on others, we're going around about it in the wrong way. That's my, I put that forward as we discuss this. I feel that it's important as we think about these things to really keep the focus of this is spiritual practice, and spiritual practice is about making changes within me, not within us, not within my family. It's really focused on upon oneself. That's my take, but do you have other feelings about this? I just find this is sort of difficult to
What is the question
suggest.
that Swings is asking us again? He's asking us to consider these people that have done so much wrong, to consider their imagination.
Yes.
That's the tricky.
Yeah.
And is it to consider their imagination so we can...
We must recognize two things. Firstly, such people do not come from nowhere, but from within a particular society, at a particular time, in a particular place.
So it's like karmic in some way, or is that what he's implying?
The environment.
Like they came into a particular time, place, at in particular circumstances? Or...
So, I don't know. You take someone like Hitler, who this was after the First World War, after the sort of, let's say, injustices that were imposed upon Germany after the First World War, and the sort of monstrous ways in which he behaved, really within that situation. That's the only way I understand it. And I'm not saying that I understand or forgive Hitler. I understand what His Holiness is suggesting here.
It seems to me, at least, like often, like someone like Hitler or like the current president, for instance, it seems like, I know that we talk about at times that that when something goes wrong in the world, we can blame it on other people and say, everyone's making all these horrible decisions. And I know you've reminded us that, like, I am part of everyone. I am a part of the collective. And so it seems that sometimes when a leader that is particularly horrible, or they're not particularly horrible, but they've made particularly horrible decisions, it seems that they kind of become a little bit of a calling card for everyone's worst thoughts in some way, like a billboard for all the things that maybe someone was thinking in their mind but wouldn't ever say out loud, and then they become willing to say them out loud. And so, yeah, sometimes I wonder if that is, I don't know if it's a karmic thing, but they become a representation of like all the bad thoughts that one could have in some way. It's a thought, I don't know. Comes to mind.
So one thought that the idea of these situations being a reflection of where we are, what I do think that it's helpful to remember when we talk about karma. According to the laws of karma, whatever I am experiencing in the way of difficulty or pleasure or whatever, all of the aspects of the situation that I am in right now, my mental, my physical, my environmental situation, are all the result of my past actions. And therefore, the political situation that I am experiencing, what touches me, it's not just that I'm a part of it, it's that I am responsible for its existence vis-a-vis me. I don't say that selfishly, self-centeredly. I'm saying, the things that happen beyond my situation, I'm not responsible for. The anguish that news may cause me, the anguish that I am caused is something that I'm experiencing as a result of my past actions, my karma. What is interesting about this is that it's not that the present situation is something that we can sort of point fingers at. It's that the most effective contribution that I can make to the present situation is by working on myself.
Being better,
And on some level, I mean, there are those who are able to somehow engage in actions that can affect the world in a more outwardly, let's say, effective way. But working on ourselves is, I think, should be our priority.
So I have a question about that. So I don't want to bring up politics at all, but it seems like that it's easy to go that way. So if I'm concerned about immigrants getting captured, tortured by ICE, separated from their families, the anguish that I feel about them, that's my karma.
Sure.
But at the same time, I should be concerned about their suffering.
Of course.
Right. So if I had quote unquote good karma, I'd be like, oh, well, that's terrible and go about my day. Or
No. I think that, one of the things that we've been studying here is that caring about others, being concerned with others, being able to help others, all of that concern for an action devoted to helping others brings them happiness, of course, but brings us happiness too. The real source of our happiness is as a result of engaging in and helping others.
It seems that there's such an interesting, that's a good example. It seems like there's such an interesting difference between, if I recognize that something's terrible, there's a difference between recognizing something's terrible and then taking on something and making me feel terrible, and then that inhibiting my ability to act in the world in some way, which I feel like is a weird.
Taking responsibility to change the
If something
situation.
horrible happens and I go, that's horrible, I'm going to do X, Y, Z to help make it better.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
That's nice.
If something horrible happens and I say, that's terrible, and then I'm just shut down and I don't feel like I can do anything because I'm so under the feeling of terribleness, it's like sometimes I almost feel good for feeling so bad because I feel like I'm responsible because I'm feeling bad because something so bad happened. But I feel like there's probably a lot more strength in being able to recognize when something is bad and then acting in a good way, probably. Interesting.
personally, I struggle with the idea of being a pacifist and then having righteous anger about what's happening in our country, right? Which is a sort of addictive feeling for me, right? The feeling of rage and wanting to fight power, essentially, and try to make change, and then also feeling like there's absolutely nothing I can do. So I find I struggle with those feelings a lot.
There might be a little different angle of saying that we've created the causes to be born in such an environment that has both wonderful and terrible things happening, and we can create the causes to be born in other environments. So that, I think it's a little different than feeling like we have to go out there and change everything. We can change ourselves.
You're not alone. A lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, really. Work on it.
These are, of course, very challenging subjects, especially at this particular time. And to say the most powerful contribution that I can make to the situation is to work on myself doesn't mean that we should refrain from helping others, that we should refrain from stepping out of our little cocoon. No, but we should go about what we do, understanding that the real work we have to do, yeah.
And the little acts can go a long way.
Smiling. Yes. So, well, he goes on to explain this a little bit, but I do feel that the statement is that these, firstly, such people do not come from nowhere, but from within a particular society at a particular time and in a particular place. I think that that's okay. Their actions need to be considered in relation to these circumstances. Secondly, and there's to understand is to forgive. Is that an expression in English?
I think I've heard that.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
We'll buy it.
I'll take it.
Okay. No, in French you say comprendre c'est tout pardonner. To understand is to completely forgive. And the more we understand something, the more it's not that as we, and this may be what is meant here, the more we get into the dynamics of a situation and understand it, the more we forgive. It may be a helpful technique. Secondly, we need to recognize the role of the imaginative faculty in their actions. Their schemes were and are carried out in accordance with a vision, albeit a perverted one, notwithstanding the fact that nothing could justify the suffering they instigated, whatever their explanation might be and whatever positive intentions they could point to. Hitler, Stalin, Mao, and Pol Pot each had goals toward which they were working. If we examine those actions, which are uniquely human, which animals cannot perform, we find that this imaginative faculty plays a vital role. The faculty itself is a unique asset, but the use to which it is put determines whether the actions it conceives are positive or negative, ethical or unethical. The individual's motivation, Kunlong in Tibetan, is thus the governing factor. So what do you think of that? Here we're saying, now His Holiness is saying, he's brought in this concept of imagination, and then he's talking about maybe our inability to really understand what their motivations were, and that motivation is what determines the virtuous or non-virtuous quality of or nature of an action. And this, though I don't understand the totality of this, when we're talking about virtuous and non-virtuous actions, let's say we're talking about, any, let's say, physical action we engage in, the quality of that physical action is determined by the motivation behind the action. That's the most important aspect of it.
Quality of the action is, say it one more time.
Determined by the motivation
Of the action.
of us as we engage in the action.
Right, the quality of the action is determined by the motivation that we engage with.
Yeah.
And that determines the karmic result,
Right,
result of the action.
yeah, that makes sense.
So there are many, even, when you were asking about calm abiding, the ability to keep the mind focused on a particular thing, this ability to focus the mind without effort on its object and to keep it there, and that concentration itself brings a certain vitality to one. Now that's an extraordinary mental quality, but it's not considered to be virtuous. It's not considered to be non-virtuous. It's neutral, because what determines the quality of that concentration is, yes, and or what you are focused on.
Right.
If I focus it on the qualities of a camera that I wish to buy,
That's good. It's the highest level.
not good.
Can I ask a question? I'm not sure I'm fully understanding this, but just having a goal is not enough. The goal needs to be somewhat virtuous, correct? Because many people feel they're doing the right thing, but they're absolutely not doing the right thing. There's a reason they're doing it, which they believe is a great reason, but it's not, because they're creating suffering. Let's take Hitler, for example.
Yes.
So you've said the goal needs to be virtuous.
Well, is that what we're talking about? Goals? Yeah, I think goals are
So,
virtuous and
but
not
that's
virtuous.
sort of suggesting that there is, someone saying you're acting non-virtuously.
Well, let's talk about Hitler's goals and what he did, right? He's trying to create a perfect race, which to him felt right.
Mhm.
They're
Right,
causing
he
suffering.
felt virtuous in doing that.
I don't know, he was doing it,
Yeah.
he felt it was right, or maybe other religions these days impose things on people that they feel are right in the eyes of God or whatever, but they cause suffering. I mean, you can feel whatever you want, but once you act out and you hurt people, that becomes different. So how do we say just having a goal? I don't think this is what you're saying, so that's why I'm asking. Having a goal makes something okay.
No, it's not that having a goal makes something okay. So when we talk about virtuous and non-virtuous, what makes an act virtuous is that there are two aspects of it. There's the aspect of whom we are acting towards, and there's ourselves. And when we act to help, that's something that brings us benefit, that brings us happiness, but karmically it brings us virtue, and it helps the other people as well. So it's not thou shalt not do this or that. It's that it benefits you and it benefits those around you. There's a sort of natural goodness to it.
Is the question like, who decides what benefits whom?
I guess it started with from the book saying, what is it, faculties?
Yeah, they're
Imaginative
that's a big one.
faculties.
Yeah.
Because, let's just say Hitler, because he's such an easy
Right.
one. He felt his imaginative faculties told him this is the right thing to do. So we have to consider that when viewing Hitler and trying to understand Hitler.
I think when we discuss Hitler, it's very black and white, but in our daily lives, there's things that are very gray. So we have to be open to possibilities of something that we think is inherently good might not be.
It's easier to think, sure, when we go about our daily lives and you see people struggling who maybe are causing suffering to a lesser scale, you try to understand what they're going through perhaps, but yeah, it becomes difficult once you look at these historical figures who cause so much suffering.
Understand what they're going through maybe takes some of the sting away from your reaction.
Yeah.
And leaves you in a better position to correct the behavior when you get a chance.
Yeah.
But as he said, we can't correct everyone's behavior. Only
No,
our own.
only our
If we
own.
could
Yeah.
try, I mean, we could do things.
And it's also interesting to think that when these really horrible people have done such horrible things, they couldn't have ever done it in a vacuum. It's like
Oh,
all these people followed the person
That's right.
in order to cause all these horrible things. And if someone's saying, I'm going to do all this terrible stuff, and then no one follows, it's one thing. And then when someone says, I'm going to do all these terrible things, and everyone says, yeah, let's do all the terrible things together, it seems like a slightly different thing that, of course, Hitler is horrible, and then everyone got on that bandwagon, so it created a really horrible effect. But maybe that's a really good portrayal of like our actions are important, because when we get on the bandwagon we have to be intentional about whatever we do, otherwise we end up on really weird bandwagons, obviously.
I guess it's also just information we have to take in when we're trying to change our own selves, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, we see something, we learn from it that allows us to change those things in ourselves.
I think that's really it.
Yeah.
What you just said is really the essence of how we should act in accordance with this.
That's a really good portrayal of like a kind of like that lesson to cultivate your mind, because you see like there's so many different stories of so many people have gone through where their family members all of a sudden have really different values very quickly, or have gone through really intense changes and they don't know why, whatever. And you can see that like, well, they allowed their mind they made some decisions, and everybody can make those decisions. I have to remember that it's important to, be careful with my mind. Because it's like, there's a lot of people on the planet, and if we're not, weird things happen.
And that as we are navigating, as you say, the only aspect that we truly have control over is our own minds.
Yeah.
And we're really focusing on that.
Yeah.
That's what spiritual practice is. It's not about changing others. It's about changing ourselves.
I think also it's easy to think of Hitler as this nugget of terribleness, whereas I think what His Holiness is saying is that there's all these surrounding causes and conditions which have led to Hitler being what he was. And so we don't have to have this hatred towards whatever we perceive in him, and realize that it's all this massive causes and conditions.
Well, I think we can have hatred and disgust and whatever,
Yeah.
but it's aspects of his behavior that we might at some level possess, that we have to work at.
But if we have that hatred, we might say, okay, we need to kill Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we shouldn't.
That's right.
So, is that...
If you go by the theory that everybody's action is to seek happiness, they're just trying to seek happiness their way, but it's perverted. It's wrong. So, rather than get upset, you try to educate that person as best as you can when the opportunity arises. But in the meantime, rather than get upset, realize they're doing this because they think that's the way to happiness, and they're wrong. So sorry, but so that's one thing. I'm thinking of how we don't freak out, so we can then work around our own minds. Because when you go nuts in these situations, you're useless. You know?
And, Tony's brought up what's really important, which is that we are working at developing compassion. We are working at developing a feeling of wishing that that person be free of whatever torment he or she is experiencing. And we have to develop that compassion towards the Hitlers and Pol Pots of this world. We can't say, oh no, those, to hell with them.
We have to, or it's in our interest.
He's debating.
As a lawyer, spiritual lawyer has taken this thing. All right. How much is it?
Because we have to sounds like thou shalt.
Now, sure.
I'm acknowledging that you have
Okay.
in my spiritual work, I must work towards developing love and compassion towards even the monsters. I have to, yes.
Just you.
You don't have to.
And then everyone changes. These people are in positions of power because in the past they were generous, they were helpful, so now they have a nice human body, they have resources, people listen to them. So there was at one time an element of positivity in their mind streams. Somehow, it's not active now.
And it's quite extraordinary that they arrived at these great heights of power, of popularity, of wealth, or whatever.
Power corrupts.
No, we're not looking at that.
That's Nietzsche. Absolute power. Absolutely. PSE&G.
So, if we examine those actions which are uniquely human, which animals cannot perform, we find that this imaginative faculty plays a vital role. So as I say, I don't totally understand this. The faculty itself is a unique asset, but the use to which it is put determines whether the actions it conceives are positive or negative, ethical or unethical. The individual's motivation, Kung Long, is thus the governing factor. And whereas a vision properly motivated, which recognizes others' desires for an equal right to happiness and to be free of suffering, can lead to wonders, when divorced from basic human feeling, the potential for destruction cannot be overestimated. As for those who kill for pleasure, or worse, for no reason at all, we can only conjecture a deep submergence of the basic impulse towards care and affection for others. Still, this need not mean that it is merely extinguished, so entirely. As I pointed out earlier, except perhaps in the most extreme cases, it is possible to imagine even these people appreciating being shown affection. The disposition remains. So what does that mean? What is being said here?
There's hope for everyone.
The basic disposition, the underlying affection is there. He's saying you can't get rid of it. It may not be expressed. And I'm thinking that. I have to read it again.
Didn't Hitler have children?
I don't think so. I haven't heard of any.
The Goebbels did.
I feel like I heard some story of like having a child in his lap showing affection or something like that, or some other sort of tyrant. Darren speaks.
The voice from within. The deep voice from within. That's fun. Very fun.
So, what do you make of this paragraph?
It's a tough one.
Can you reread it? I'm
The
sorry.
disposition is what
As for those who kill,
Sir. James.
Out of
good evening. I would say that how we feel about any situation depends on the maturity of our discrimination.
Who was yes,
Thus spoken.
the Connecticut Yankee. Good man.
So what do you make of bringing discrimination, the maturity of our discrimination in the sense of figuring out the virtuous, non-virtuous aspects of understanding the
Universal is your
mechanics
outlook.
of
Can you reread it?
What's that? Jeff?
this or
No,
this.
that.
Good evening.
Wait a minute, hold on. Slow down.
I would say that how we feel about any situation,
Children, please.
You started it.
well, that's
Maturity or
discriminate.
discrimination.
Speaking of,
Yeah, but what is?
So I read that, and I'm going back to my earlier example, is the sort of gray area of, you know, the perpetrator of violence or the perpetrator of something really bad, right?
Mhm.
Or, you know, considering what it means to be an ICE agent right now, right, in the United States, and to be this object of all this hate, right? When on some level you were asked to be a part of that organization because you got bonuses, you have mouths to feed.
Yeah, that's,
And, you know, that's sort of the maturity of your discrimination, not looking at them as wholly evil because they're caught up in what's happening in the world right now, right? So I find it easier to talk about the ICE agent than I do about Hitler. And it's easier if you start looking at things that are a little more gray and not as black and white. So it does depend on the maturity of my discrimination to have some sort of understanding and compassion for that person, even though I might feel very angry or feel hate towards them.
it's just nice around the world. We have RS in Darfur, the Russian Gestapo that puts, it's something perverted in the mind of these dictators that sets that stuff in motion.
Sympathy for the prison guard.
What is it in there?
But without getting into, I think that those aspects are more difficult to get into. If we are working towards developing compassion, if we are working towards opening our hearts to wishing to remove the suffering that others are experiencing, we can devote that to the Hitlers and to the ICE agents and to
Anybody.
Well, with
anybody.
some
Yeah.
intelligence, you just can't say, well, I forgive them. I know.
There's no
Yeah.
forgiveness.
No.
It's not a question of forgiveness.
Right, but
It's wishing to remove their suffering, wishing to remove
Yes.
the ignorance that motivates that the behavior that causes them suffering. I think that we have a spiritual. If we are engaged in the spiritual path, we have the responsibility to work towards removing that. That's our work.
Yeah, the forgiveness aspect is just to calm you down, but you have to be more than just a blank forgiveness. Like you said, what motivates them, what causes them, how can we do something?
Which I feel like leads to, I like what Martin Luther King would say is like, you don't have to like everybody, you have to love everybody on some level. I feel like
Yes.
that what you're talking to leads to that.
Mhm.
Of saying like every human being on the planet deserves love. Not everybody deserves to be liked, but they deserve love at the end of the day.
Yes.
Which I think sometimes is hard to muster, obviously, because people do horrible things.
But if we think about what love means, I mean,
Yeah.
as we understand it, love is the wish to provide others with their needs.
Right.
And compassion is the wish to remove their suffering. If we see it that way, we can do it.
Yeah. Yes.
You got them right in your soul.
Thank you.
I remember during COVID, Geshe George Damdol gave an example of seeing the empty streets, and one discrimination is, oh, isn't this terrible? Like everyone is stuck inside. And then another discrimination is, oh, everyone is doing things to keep ourselves safe and have interest for the collective good. So in certain situations, it might not be as black and, I mean, there's different ways that we can discriminate the situation that could be more wholesome.
Yeah, that's very helpful for them. going back to Queens and, oh, this is horrible, nobody's out screaming, jumping up, and that's a better way to look at it.
It's like when Bing Crosby sang I'll Be Seeing You. Everyone thought it was a love song. And when Billie Holiday sang it, everybody thought it was a breakup song. But it was like same words.
Yeah.
Same melody, everything. But
And we had
the way that you could see it became very different, which is interesting.
We'll change that around. Work on it tonight. Mark, get the sheet music out.
So, actually, the reader does not need to accept my proposition that human nature is basically disposed toward love and compassion to see that the capacity for empathy which underlies it is of crucial importance when it comes to ethics. We saw earlier how an ethical act is a non-harming act, but how are we to determine whether an act is genuinely non-harming? We find that in practice, if we are not able to connect with others to some extent, if we cannot at least imagine the potential impact of our actions on others, then we have no means to discriminate between right and wrong, between what is appropriate and what is not, between harming and not harming. It follows, therefore, that if we could enhance this capacity, that is to say, our sensitivity towards others' suffering, the more we did so, the less we could tolerate seeing others' pain, and the more we would be concerned to ensure that no action of ours caused others harm. So, that is to say, our sensitivity towards others' suffering, that's what we have to work towards. That's what he's recommending we
Cultivate our sensitivity
Yeah, you
toward
filled
others'
it, you
suffering.
filled it in. Making that statement pages ago. Very quick.
So I'll go back a little. We find that in practice, if we are not able to connect with others to some extent, if we cannot at least imagine the potential impact of our actions on others, then we have no means to discriminate between right and wrong, between what is appropriate and what is not, between harming and not harming. It follows, therefore, that if we could enhance this capacity, the capacity or our sensitivity towards others' suffering, the more we did so, the less we would tolerate seeing others' pain, and the more we would be concerned to ensure that no action of ours caused harm to others. So working towards, sensitivity towards others' suffering. In this, when we meditate on compassion, as we did at the beginning, the more we wish to remove the suffering of others, the more we recognize that everyone, one of the things that we have to understand are the different levels of suffering, the subtleties of suffering, and really recognize that everyone is experiencing suffering in some way, and thereby develop that wish to remove that suffering. That, I think, just thinking like that, applying that to what His Holiness is saying here, I think, would be an effective way of doing this. And you can do it sitting on your bed. And I would recommend doing it. We have more, gosh. We have from Lori now. When I come in contact with and pay attention to someone, it depends on my equanimity, love, and compassion. On my IE. So equanimity, love, and compassion present in mind that dictates my feeling. So I'm not sure I understand. When I come into contact with and pay attention to someone, it depends on my equanimity, my love and compassion present
A mindset.
in mind that
Right.
dictates my feeling. Yes. And so cultivate compassion, cultivate love as a way of affecting the way in which we feel as we come into contact and pay attention to people, to others. Thank you, Laurie. So we have Laurie and Jeff. Sorry?
Aristotle. He speaks Greek, so.
Karistopoli. Okay. Well, I think this is a lot to think about, and as I say, it's something that we can think about on our own. It's not that we need necessarily to go out. We can do so reading the newspaper. We can do so
It's a big
Newspaper.
teaching thing, isn't it? Or online newspaper now.
You can still have it delivered by the New York Times.
I know. The raccoons don't eat it first. Yeah, a few people in our neighborhood get it. The guy in the corner is always working on the corner. You know, but he never reads it. No problem. The afternoon it's still there. Names. We have one name. Jane painted us with a name.
People who died on the earthquake in Colombia.
Columbia, yes.
So we're being asked to pray for people who died in
Mary
the
Catherine
earthquake.
Holding.
Mary
One of the
Catherine
names.
Holding.
Mary Catherine Holding. Did you get that, Darren?
No, I didn't get that.
Jane. You and
Okay.
Darren Smith. That's it.
So we shall read the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavan. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of Buddha Bhagavata. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Yana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms, this alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. The 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others, out of jealousy, treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. A prayer for the swift return. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lobsang Tuwang Dojechang, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the victim to the doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast ways of aspirational truth. Lord of speech of Victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the inferiors by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till sickly existence end, to abide in your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return to the Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta, drawn by 7 seeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return to the glory of Losang Tempe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh and moonlight face.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will have next class in New York City next Monday at 151 West 30th Street on the 3rd floor, 7 o'clock.
We have to take a picture for Susan, you, Darren, and I.